Hi everyone, I'm Julia and I tutor GCSE and A-level chemistry. So today we're breaking down mole calculations step by step, so you'll never blank out in an exam again. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so let's first understand what the equation actually is. So the equation for moles is moles equals mass over mR. And there we go, that's as simple as the equation is. However, what I like to do is the moles triangle. So let's put this equation into triangle format. So there we go, you can think of it as a triangle. We've got mass on top, then mR, and then moles at the bottom. So to help us understand this, we can imagine that there's a little divide symbol just between the top and the bottom, and there's a little times symbol just in between the moles and the mR. So how to use the triangle? Well, that's very simple. All you need to do is cover the one that you want to find, and the formula will appear. So let's say we want to find mass. We'll cover mass, and then our equation is moles times mR. Let's say we want to find mR. We'll cover mR, and then our formula will be mass divided by moles. Simple, right? If not, that's okay. We'll try a few examples and see how this works in practice. Alright, so for the first question, if we've got 12 grams of carbon, how many moles of carbon do we actually have? So let's start by understanding what moles actually are. So moles are just a simple way of counting particles. It tells us how many atoms or molecules we actually have. So 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23 particles. However, this is just an extra bit of information, so you won't actually need to use this number very often in your exam. And just as a tip, if you do ever need to use this number in an exam, it'll be found at the front in the formula sheet, so you won't ever have to remember this. Okay, let's actually work out the question. So let's just write the equation down. Moles is equal to mass over mR. So I've just written the shortened formula on the left-hand side of the page. So the N stands for moles, the M stands for mass, and the MR, of course, stands for mR. So we know we need to find moles. We've been told the mass, so that's 12. And the only thing that we're missing is the MR. So to find the MR of carbon, all we need to do is look at the periodic table and look at the atomic mass, which for carbon is going to be 12. So now we can just plug that into our equation. So that gives us 12 over 12, which is 1 mole. And that's it for that question. We've got 1 mole of carbon. So let's wrap this up and go over a few quick tips to hopefully help you not make any mistakes when it comes to moles in exams. Let's get to it. So I would say my first biggest tip is remember the triangle formula will be your best friend in exams. If you're ever confused and see moles in any question, pull out that triangle formula and just see what fits, cover up the thing you need to find, and you'll have the formula in the triangle. So to summarise, if you ever see a maths question in chemistry, pull out that formula and just see if anything fits. Then for tip 3, and this is very crucial and we did actually forget to mention this, always make sure to check your units. If you're using the mass from a question, double, triple and quadruple check that you've got it in grams, as the formula will only work if your mass is in grams. So if in the exam it's given in kilograms, micrograms, anything other than grams, just be sure to convert back to grams before actually using it in your equation. So to wrap this up, I really hope this made moles click. If it did, don't forget to hit the like and comment if you want any other specific videos. I wish you all a great time revising. You've got this.